Our 28-foot Herreshoff Rozinante spends the winter under a tarp in our yard. Come spring, there's a lot to be done.
Hi, this is Anastasia from U.S. Harbors. I'm here today with Kevin Carney. He's the master builder and the lead instructor at the Apprenticeshop in Rockland, Maine. And we're here today, and Kevin is going to help me figure out what to do with my boat. This is a Rozinante wooden boat. I inherited it from my father, and I need to have a 101 with what to do to get it in the water. So Kevin, where do I start?
Looking at the boat, it's actually in pretty good shape, so most of the work looks like it's cosmetic work. Bottom paint, topside paint, and you can see that the varnish on the top sides is in pretty bad shape, so that'll have to get scraped down to bare wood again to try to get rid of some of this gray, and then the varnish will have to be built up on that. But otherwise, it doesn't look like a tremendous amount of work. It's probably what you would end up doing most springs before you get your boat ready to go in the water, which is, take care of the bottom. This is actually reasonably clean. I actually brought a tool or two. There's your little scraper that you can use. It's actually a wire brush that attaches to a Sawzall, and that makes, taking this any flaky stuff that you want to get off of here pretty easy to do. You don't have to go crazy wild over it unless you're going to race the boat and you want a super finish on the bottom. Otherwise, just scuffing it up a little bit to get rid of any flaky old stuff, and then putting a new coat of bottom paint should get you through the season without any problems. One thing to mention about bottom paint, it is caustic, so you have to be careful. Make sure that you're wearing respirators and the right type of equipment. And what we do at the shop most of the time is we throw a tarp down so that a lot of this paint ends up on the tarp, and then we can actually gather it up and then dispose of it. That way it doesn't end up getting all over the ground, which is not a good thing at all. Start pretty much anywhere. This is the one that's going to take the deck up here, and the varnish is the one that's going to take the most coats to get it back up to where it's actually protecting the wood. So in terms of time, I would probably start with scraping this down and getting it down to wood and start to get some kind of a finish on top of that. You have to build up progressive coats, and you want to get probably half a dozen coats on there anyways to protect it. And then every spring you just scuff it down and add another coat to keep it well protected like that. You do want to get rid of this black and gray if you're going to varnish, otherwise that'll show up through the varnish. If you painted these, you might be able to get away with that, but you want to make sure that when it is turns that color, it's not just light damage, that it's not some kind of fungus or bacteria or anything like that. It's even at this stage, it's not that hard to get it back down to wood. What we would generally use is a really sharp scraper, like something like that, and then just scrape that. Instead of trying to sand it all, you can just scrape it, and if your scraper is nice and sharp, it'll come off in these nice little shavings, and it'll clean that up pretty quickly. Then you can go back and sand it down and then start building up some coats of varnish on there.
What sandpaper do you recommend if I'm going to work on that railing right there?
I would scrape it first, then I would start with 80 grit just to get rid of the scrape marks and to kind of smooth it out. Go down to 120, and then after 120, probably 220, and then it's ready for some kind of a finish.
And the rest of the varnish that's a little bit better, that just gets sanded all over the place, or?
Yeah. You can see that you've got some little spots where it's run through, either lines run through there or something like that, and it's worn it down. So I would do the same thing there, where I would gently scrape that and sand it, and maybe build up a couple of coats there, and then once you've got a couple of coats built up on that raw spot, then sand everything and give everything a coat over top of that. You have to wait 24 hours or more between coats. There are some products that you can use where you don't have to sand between the coats. Epiphanes makes a wood finish gloss which works well that way. So you can build up several coats. But then even that, you have to give that, you know, a decent amount of time if you've built up several coats to dry, so that when you sand it, it's not gummy. It sands well, and you can apply more coats over top of that.
How many coats do you think I'm going to need to get this ready for the water?
6.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got my marching orders.
Right.